Namaste and welcome to AIDIA Talk. Now, we are very thrilled to welcome you to yet another enlightening episode where we shall delve into foreign policies and international affairs from the heart of the Himalayan nation, Kathmandu, Nepal. AIDIA Talk is proudly brought to you by the Asian Institute of Diplomacy and International Affairs, and our goal is to foster meaningful conversations to achieve greater understanding of the global issues. In today's world where everything is interconnected, diplomacy plays a pivotal role in maintaining a balance of geopolitical stability. Diplomacy is responsible for navigating through complex relationships. It resolves conflicts and also builds a sustainable partnerships between nations and overall contributing to the entire world. We at AIDIA are pretty much passionate about demystifying the art of diplomacy. What is it? How does it work? And how can the wonders of diplomacy benefit a nation and ultimately the world? Today, as our distinguished guest, we are very grateful to welcome and fortunate to welcome His Excellency Lukmon Bobokalonzoda, the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the Republic of Tajikistan to the Republic of India. Let's dive in to the world of diplomacy. Welcome to the show. Your Excellency, welcome to AIDIA Talk. First of all, we are truly thankful for the time that you have given us for a quick conversation. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to come here.
Let's talk about what actually brought you to Nepal, the Nepal Investment Summit 2023, third of its kind. What were the takeaways as you attended the summit? How did you find the summit?
Thank you. Indeed, the summit was very, I would say, useful and very interactive discussion between both sides. I mean, host country and investors. There are many investors from different parts of the world attended this event, and I saw very open and frank discussion. That's very encouraging, and also steps is taken by which are taken by government of Nepal towards making more attractive investment environment here is very appraisable. And also commitment of the government to continue those reforms and improving investment environment very timely.
Any interesting takeaways from the many sessions that were in the Nepal Investment Summit? I think there were over 150 projects that were showcased for future investments. Anything in particular that you thought might work in the bilateral relationship that Tajikistan and Nepal too share?
Yes, thank you. I attended several sector discussions. For example, hydropower, tourism. There was very interactive and open discussion on between participants. At the same time, good ideas came there also. And as our countries, Nepal and Tajikistan, is mountainous countries, landlocked countries, and
we even have a common neighbor.
Yeah, facing the same difficulties,
right.
The same problem, but we have the same opportunities also.
Right.
Let's look to those challenges with a constructive view and to seize opportunities which come with the challenges.
Right.
As we know, every challenge comes with opportunities.
We'll dive deeper into the similarities that two nations share, but right now let's begin with the present state of relationship that we have, Nepal and the Republic of Tajikistan. I think it was formalized in 2005. Ever since, what is the current state that we share, and what are the future possibilities of perhaps extending the bilateral relationship that we have?
Yeah, thank you. There indeed it was formalized almost 2 decades ago, and We had appointed both sides ambassadors, our ambassador in Nepal and Nepali ambassador in Tajikistan. And now we are thinking maybe we can move to more regular meetings and interaction between both sides. Since our geography, our climate, our environment almost similar, and our people also very similar kind.
Potential sector, hydro
potential,
too.
Yeah. And this gives us opportunity to interact in coming years. For example, Tajikistan is a mountains country, 93% is mountains, and our energy basket is 98% from hydropower. We now have a task set by President, His Excellency Momali Rahman, to reach 100% renewable energy in our basket. Those are similar desires here in Nepal also, to increase their energy productivity and utilization of hydropower resources in a sustainable manner also.
Right.
And at the same time to have energy as a main trading asset for both sides also.
Right. Now, it was not just the Nepal Investment Summit that brought you to Nepal. I believe you've had a lot of high-level meetings and interesting visits, like I think EC Mode this morning, just before the interview. Tell us a little bit about the interviews, the meetings that you've had in Nepal. Were they fruitful? Is there any scope? Is there good news that we're looking forward to?
Indeed, I had several very high-level meetings also, and they are promising. And apart from this, I met also Indian business community here, Nepali business community here, and we had also good conversation, discussion, how we can start bringing Tajikistan and Nepali business together.
Right.
And apart from this, this morning, as you mentioned, I visited IC Mode. And it's an institution which are focusing now on Himalaya and Hindu Kush. And we invited them also to focus in our region. As they informed me, they already started thinking on how we can collaborate with Tian and Pamir Mountains, also in Tian and Pamir Mountains, which are extension of Himalayas and Hindu Kush. That's why let's see how we can continue cooperation with them, because similar situation and similar interests of IC Mode and mountains countries also brought them together 40 years ago, and now other mountainous countries of Central Asia can join this organization and work with them effectively.
Right.
I hope next conference in water could be first step for IC Mode and Tajikistan to start more practical interaction.
So an exchange of ideas and skills that we have in conservation of mountains and working with people. Interesting. Now, there are a lot of similarities that our two nations share. One of them is the mountains that we've actually brought up many times, a few minutes into the show already. Mountains. In Nepal too, we have the mountains, we have the hills, and then we have the plains. The three different geographical dimensions that we have. But Tajikistan is primarily mountains. 93% is the Pamir range, the majestic range that you have. And then hydro being but the energy basket, as you mentioned. Now, Nepal too has a potential of 300 kilowatt, but what we produce is only 100,000, slightly 100,000. What happens with countries with hydro is, yes, there is a season, and then there's a lot of export that you do, and then it brings in a lot of economic generation as well. But during the dry season, the roles are reversed, and then we're importing electricity again, which is kind of ironic as well. I believe it's the same in Tajikistan as well?
Yeah, of course.
The nature?
It's not easy to reach 100% self-energy sufficiency.
Right.
Any country depends on their neighbors. If not for electricity, maybe for gas and oil. We are not. We are rich in hydropower potential and in water. 60% of waters of region emerge from our mountains. But at the same time, we don't have any big reservoir of gas and oil. This kind of, how to say, those difficulties create some opportunity for cooperation.
Right.
Yeah, in summer season we sell electricity to our neighbors, and in winter they can
We're buying it back
revise,
again.
Right. Those are kind of how to say, give and take.
Right.
Opportunity which should be used on mutual basis.
But at the same time, can this be solved? Is there avenues to solving this problem once and for all for a nation to be 100% self-sufficient in terms of energy?
Yeah.
Because achieving the target that you have in Tajikistan when it comes to hydro, too, when we look at it from Nepal's perspective,
yes.
ambitious, but you've already achieved it. What are the things that Nepal could perhaps learn from how Tajikistan has shaped itself and capitalized over 90% in hydro?
Actually, our hydro was developed around since 1950s. And today we reach this 98% of hydropower. Mm-hmm. But still, we are now looking, if we want to be 100% renewable, we are now looking to solar also.
Right.
It's integration of solar power with hydropower gives the best opportunity for countries like Tajikistan and Nepal, because we have also great solar potential.
Potential, yes.
In our country, it's almost 25 billion kilowatt in a year.
Has there been efforts made into looking at how it could be materialized from just an idea to a practical use?
Yeah, the Minister of Energy of Tajikistan is taking steps towards this, and recently we also had a governmental instruction also. All schools, hospitals, clinics, they should be powered also in addition with solar panels. Mm-hmm.
Like in Nepal too, yes, the field, the area has been explored, but not perhaps to a greater dimension as much as it can be, because sun is everywhere. You know, we were lucky that we were nations that receive sun, but you see all these little villages, you know, they have 2 light bulbs and perhaps a radio that is solar powered. So the awareness is already there. But I believe an effort from the government will strengthen the potential of it.
Those developments should be led by the government, because hydropower is a very, how to say, costly investment, but effect is very wide and cheaper than other type of energy. That's why it's more costly, how to say, type of investment in which governments are engaged,
right,
and public sector also, and private sector could be a good partner also. But in our country, those efforts in the energy sector are led mainly by government, and policy is there also. And because hydro and energy sector is very costly for the investment, and you are part of private sector, also public sector could be, and international donors and international development banks also could be a very good partner on this direction.
Like in Nepal, when it comes to hydro, there are a lot of FDIs that are attracted to come to Nepal and then explore the area of hydro. Is it the same in Tajikistan? Has hydro attracted FDIs?
Yeah, we have 2 power stations which built, one by Russian Federation and other by Islamic Republic of Iran.
Right.
Yeah, there are 2 medium-sized hydropower stations which are functioning. They're contributing to our energy security. And now we are seeking and working with other partners also to continue our biggest project, Rogun project also. And there are many investors are engaged on this process.
Right. Now, I'd like to draw our conversation to an interesting subject, which is perhaps a very crucial one as well, as we talk about hydro and water. Now, the 3rd Dushanbe Water Action Decade Conference is scheduled for June, which is quite close. Tell us about the importance, the key agendas, the goals of the third Dushanbe Water Decade Conference, and third of its kind. Tell us the inception, the idea behind it, why is it important, and what can it achieve?
Yes, thank you. Tajikistan started promoting water agenda at UN at the dawn of this millennia, at the beginning of 2000s. We started with International Year of Fresh Water, 2003. Then another second initiative of Tajikistan under the leadership of the president was International Decade Water for Life. But Water for Life was accompanying MDG process, Millennium Development Goals, specifically targets on providing access to sanitation and water. And then when the United Nations was engaged in discussing sustainable development goals, we came with idea, Tajikistan came with idea why we cannot support the same process with another water decade. That's why idea came, Water for Sustainable Development. And SDG, now Sustainable Development Goals, are supported also by international
so it
decade
started
of
with,
action, Water for Sustainable Development.
So it started with an idea of the importance of water for all, access to water.
Yes.
How much of it was achieved?
It's quite, how to say, discouraging that there are still many countries facing problem in providing access to water and sanitation.
Right.
And achievements is not, how to say, not at the tempo and at the level which we desired when MDGs and SDGs were accepted. For example, SDGs on water provides instruction to all governments and countries that everybody should be provided with safe drinking water and sanitation.
Right.
And it's not easy in today's world to achieve this target, even because first of all, there is a huge amount of the investment is needed.
What about in the Republic of Tajikistan itself? Are there still areas where people struggle to get access?
Yeah, we have some areas where in rural areas we have, specifically in rural areas, people doesn't have to safe drinking water. They have to improve the water, but safe drinking water, providing safe drinking water is a little bit, I would say, more difficult to achieve in rural areas because of remoteness of area and
the geography, the topography,
and infrastructure, and providing logistics also.
It's so amazing. Whatever you're saying in terms of Tajikistan, it relates, translates so clearly to Nepal as well, because Nepal too, you look at the thousands of rivers and rivulets that we have, the mountains that source these rivers, the amount of energy that is created out of it. But there are still a lot of regions of Nepal where drinking water is scarce. The knowledge of safe drinking water is still absent, and the geography makes it very difficult, where a bucket of water it too is valuable. So it does relate. Now in terms of water, is there an opportunity, because we share so many similarities, is there an area where Nepal and Tajikistan could explore into promoting the idea, the need, the importance of water for all?
Actually, on promoting water, we now reached in another point of initiative. It's another initiative which was proposed by President of Tajikistan, His Excellency Emomali Rahmon, to announce 2025 as International Year of Preservation of Glaciers. And we know Nepal and Tajikistan are water towers of the regions, and we have huge reserves of glaciers. In Tajikistan, almost 11% of territory is covered by glaciers.
Right.
Longest glacier it's about 77 kilometers in length, is reserved in our mountains.
Right.
But still climate change are creating challenges and posing some difficulties, because we are losing those glaciers. Almost 30% of our glaciers lost. And if this tempo continues, maybe soon we can lose 60 to 70%.
And soon it will be a thing of the past.
Yeah, and and glaciers in mountains, they are like huge water reservoirs,
Right.
which is used mainly in summer period. That's why it creates more challenges in summer period.
Right.
And at the same time, accelerated melt of glaciers creating new lakes in new areas.
Right. And Glof, glacial lake outburst,
Yes,
flood.
Right.
Right.
Those are new challenges is coming, and here countries need to cooperate together. That's why we brought this initiative in 2 years ago at United Nations also to announce 25 as a year of International Year of Preserving Glaciers, and at the same time to announce 21st of March as International Day of Preserving Glaciers.
Right. Now, the discussions on climate change is so crucial. However, the truth remains that countries with mountains are more affected, like you mentioned, the glacial lake outburst first, which is also evident in Nepal. You know, the glaciers are rising, it's melting, it is bursting. The inhabitants around the areas, they're now moving, migrating to a lower region. The issue of climate change is so vast and important, but one nation's initiative is not enough.
Yeah.
It has to be a global, united effort
Yes.
in promoting, advocating, and constantly monitoring the improvements
Yeah.
in terms of, if not stop it, maybe slow the rate of climate change. When the idea that you presented earlier were shared with the world, and this is an effort jointly by the Republic of Tajikistan and the United Nations, how did the rest of the world perceive this, the interest of other nations?
Yeah, actually, many countries supported this idea, as they supported International Decade Water for Action. By the way, almost 191 were co-sponsor of International Decade Water for Sustainable Development.
That's very impressive.
Almost,
This is almost all of the countries, if it's 191.
Almost, yeah, almost. And the same with the international glaciers, but mountain countries were very active on this process, and they pushed this idea very easily, and a resolution was adopted by consensus. And it has three main elements. First, to announce International Decade, and second, International Day, and most important, International Conference in Tajikistan next year. That's why, we see at the United Nations level some kind of, unanimity and understanding on promoting water agenda.
Right. What are the key pressing issues for the upcoming third Dushanbe Water Action Decade Conference? Are there any major points? Because we've talked on a vague and a larger scope of it, but certain pinpointed key points, if there are any.
Dushanbe Water Conference, third Dushanbe Conference, is held after UN conference, which was held last year, UN Water Conference on water. It was second UN conference after Mar del Plata conference, which was held, if I'm not mistaken, in '77 in Mar del Plata. It was first United Nations conference on water. And second United Nations conference was held last year in March on World Water Day. It started on 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, 3 days, and it was chaired by Tajikistan and Netherlands. And Dushanbe conference, coming Dushanbe conference, is like follow-up of
the
New
previous
York conference on decade, and at the same time preparation to forthcoming International Year of Glaciers. It has very interactive scheme also. First day of conference there will be different forums. Youth forum, women forum, scientific forum, and mountains forum. And now we got there are idea also to have Asia Forum and Africa Forum. Let's see, those are very interactive and very live discussions with participation of governments, organizations, private sector, even experts and students, science, etc. And second day there will be official start with the opening and plenary sessions for high-level delegation. At the same time, we provided opportunity for interactive discussions. There will be first day 3 interactive discussions, then next day also 3. And at the end, all those discussion result will come up to declaration of the conference. This is
very inclusive
scheme of the conference, step by step, to engage and bring some actionable results.
Right, and I'm very thrilled to learn it's very inclusive as well, from the youngsters to scientific side of it to women, Asia, Africa, all of it. Interesting, very interesting. We touched very briefly about climate change and need of the hour at the same time. Now, as we speak, today there's torrential rain in Turkey. Yesterday there was torrential rain in Saudi Arabia. Last week, the flooding of Dubai was all over the headlines. What is the level of awareness that you see in general people? Of course, policies are required. Nations must come together to slow down the process. But in the Republic of Tajikistan, how aware do you see the citizens, the people? How much of value has it been given in terms of educating the younger generation?
Actually, we have some scientific data from Tajikistan that since 1960s, climate is changing, and we have 1.5 degrees higher than previous decades. And at the same time, we see changes in there is some shifting between seasons. At the same time, another aspect comes, it's number of disasters, water-related disasters. There's many floods, avalanches are happening now, and more often. And there is a coalition of disaster resilient infrastructure in Delhi. This is just organization which works on disaster resilient infrastructure. According to their data, Tajikistan loss in 1 year is more than $1 billion from disasters, earthquake and floods. Only 2 type of disasters. Those are giving us, proof that indeed climate is changing. And another indicator is that our glaciers are melting very fast. We almost lost 30% of our glaciers. And how to provide water availability and access in such a situation is becoming more complicated.
But how much of a need is there from the citizens? Do they talk about it? Do they bring these issues? Are there stories that are published on this?
Yeah, citizens are very active. That's it's actually how to say people as a decade also. For example, decade international years. They also aimed at bringing awareness, increasing awareness, and starting from awareness to action. Those are aims of our initiatives at United Nations. Because when you have awareness, when you have knowledge, and it's time to science to give some
then there's a realization,
suggestion, recommendation. And then realization comes to the people, ordinary people, and simple. They can think, oh, water is very precious resource and limited resource. Let's save it, and close the tap, which is open maybe sometimes.
Very simple steps
simple.
And habits, but that could make a big difference. Awareness is indeed the key. Now the key to the GDP. Let's talk about that. Again, a common factor. Now 32%, a staggering 32% of the contribution to Tajikistan's GDP comes through remittance. In Nepal too, we have a $40 billion economy that is of clearly and very easily remittance. Out of the 10 million population, 1 million work abroad. How important is it and how beneficial is it to have remittance coming in? Because from one hand, if you look at it, it's easy money to any country.
Yeah.
That is how perhaps Nepal sees it as well. There are better jobs abroad, but at the same time, it also showcases a lack of opportunity in the country, and a huge force of your labor, your man force, is abroad. So there's pros and cons to both sides. How do you see this?
Actually, according to our data, over the last years, the number is decreasing. And now we have less than 1 million. It's maybe 4 lakh or 5 lakh of people are now migrating as a labor, seasonal migrating labor. Those remittances are used to create jobs in the country.
Right.
This is a more productive way of using remittances and invest them in education, in creating some jobs. And even just simple, they can buy through their remittances some car and start driving a taxi.
The lifestyle.
Yeah, driving as a taxi, or investing money to education of children. Those are very, productive way of using of remittances. Instead of spending on some other activities, better to spend it on creative activities. That can bring slowly to decrease of number of labor migrants to abroad, and people can find a decent job at home.
But how about the vacuum that is created when a large force of people travel abroad? Because we see that in Nepal as well. We have a lot of interested migrants leaving, thousands of them, I think 1,500 every day that fly out of the country for work or studies. A lot of them come back, a lot of them don't. But at the same time, when you seek a workforce like that back in the country and you see a vacuum, how do you deal with a situation like that?
Yeah, actually, there is surprise that sometimes comes, because now many ladies are engaged in productive job, and they do well, and they lead businesses and production and lead companies. It gives opportunity for women to be engaged more in economic activities.
So it is empowering women in
of course. Yeah, I think the same could be in Nepal also.
Right.
Women could be engaged more actively and do the same job.
We do see the financial independence that women now have, because you travel to all these villages where the migrants have a trend of leaving.
Yes.
You go back and the villages are all just women and children and the elderly. Now what has happened over the years is very interesting change in dynamics is, so the men send back money. Now it's the women who are controlling money. You know, they know exactly how much to save, where to invest, how to equally divide it amongst the girl child and the boy child. So there has been a drastic change, and a good one.
Yeah,
rather,
it's positive.
Rather, yes. Now we had the Emir of Qatar visiting Nepal last week, and Qatar is one of the largest importers of Nepali migrants for the infrastructure development in the country. Is there a possibility that perhaps Nepal could also explore Tajikistan as a working destination other than the Gulf nations that has been in tradition for many years?
Let's see. We started this discussion with some Nepali companies. Let's see, and we want to bring together Tajikistan and Nepali companies to discuss where we can have a win-win solution for mutually beneficial for both sides. Those need a sort of discussion between engaged companies on arranging migrating labor.
Right.
Yeah, but still we see some win-win opportunity on both sides also.
Interesting. Let's now move to tourism. Other than hydro, remittance, I think tourism is another sector that we share in common. When we introduce Nepal, the first thing people talk about is Mount Everest, Lord Buddha. You know, these are the selling USPs that we as a nation have. And it's the same with Tajikistan for the natural beauty that it boasts, the Pamir ranges. That is what the culture, the rich history of civilization, how important it is to constantly modify the model of tourism, because just having a mountain or just having a deity born in a region is not enough. You have to build around it. How important is it to constantly remodel the formula of tourism?
Tourism is very dynamic market, and there are big competition also. And if a country wants to develop tourism, to increase it should be also competitive on this area. Not only by price of airfare and hotels also, but with the content of this tourism travels. And here many ideas, and you mentioned it, for example, Buddhism and high mountains. We have the same also, we have high mountains, a little bit lower than Everest.
But still over 7,000 meters.
And at the same time we have a Buddha statue in our National Museum, by the way, which is 14 meters in length, Buddha, sleeping Buddha. It was found in border with Afghanistan.
Interesting.
And now longest Buddha in Central Asia, this is statue, is made of a solid wood, maybe more than 2,000 years ago.
How much of it is it for the government of the Republic of Tajikistan to constantly monitor the yields, the benefits of tourism as well? Because there are other big sectors that is already contributing. We have agriculture, which we'll talk about in a short while as well. There is hydro already, we discussed about it. There's remittance, but tourism, it's just there. There is no need for further investment, a huge investment in it. How much of it is in priority for the government?
In our government, tourism is, one of priority areas among 10s, we can say. We created a committee on development of tourism, which coordinates all activities of government with the private sector. Now we have big number of tourist companies, because tourism is a small and medium-sized business, and they are very active, and they are creating tourist trekking routes and some programs, cultural programs and trekking programs for those who want to be physically fit, etc. And mountains also, tourism is developing. Many types of new tourism is coming, is adventure tourism in mountains, and now is gourmet tourism is coming also. Those are different types of tourism which we are now promoting. And let's see how, because here for Tajik and Nepali companies there are many things to share between them, to exchange their lessons, and even to have some chain of tourism along Pamir and Hindu Kush and Himalayas. Those are a great opportunity, but the companies should come together to see.
I think there could be a little bit of creativity as well. I'll give you an interesting fact about Nepal. Now, the dentistry in Nepal and ophthalmology, eye surgeons in Nepal are very, very good when it comes to their service. Any Nepali who's been living abroad, when they come back, they make sure they do a dental appointment and a quick checkup of the eye, or if the LASIK surgery is required, do so. Perhaps countries could also look at, a dentistry tourism, because it's way cheaper, almost 10 times cheaper than what is it in the other countries. So I guess a little bit of creativity is also required.
Yeah. I met some representative of Nepali hospitals. We are looking to this area also. Let's see whether we can connect them with the partners in my country, and they can start working together.
Interesting. Now let's talk about agriculture. 23.3% of the GDP is contributing factor is agriculture, cotton being one of the biggest sources, and exports at the same time. Is the trend and interest in agriculture in Tajikistan on the rise or in decline?
Indeed, agriculture is one main area where our people has the jobs. Almost more than 60% of population are engaged in agricultural production. It gives a raw material also to our industry. You mentioned it, cotton, to our textile. And now we are promoting a new agenda or another additional national goal or strategic goal we call it also was announced by President a few years ago. It's rapid industrialization. And we are moving towards more value-added local production to create more products inside the country and to create more additional value.
That is a strength of a country to produce its own food and materials, to be quite honest.
And here also investment is coming, and but it's a process which will take a couple of years and slowly. But slowly we are moving towards this, and step by step maybe we can reach highest number of local produced textile garments and clothes and many things. But agriculture interests also us from other points that we have first national goal is food security. In country with high mountains and less irrigated area, it's almost 7% of territory is available for irrigation. And in this small piece of land to produce enough food for population is not easy. At the same time, we want to export some products also because there's a high demand for very, organically produced materials, fruits and vegetables. That's why we are looking towards another new crops which use less water, because we want to consume water.
Right. First. And perhaps high value as well.
And high value at the same time, and nutritious one. And what else? Trying to diversify menu of fruits. I mean the types of fruits which is produced in our countries.
How important is it how important is it for the government to be involved to preserve the trend of agriculture? Because sadly in Nepal, even though it's an agricultural country primarily, and there are a lot of people engaged in agriculture, they don't see a higher value coming in. Perhaps there's lack of technology, perhaps there's lack of awareness of what that piece of land could yield better or more for the family, and hence the interest in agriculture is on the decline. What are the things that perhaps Nepal could learn from Tajikistan that you are already practicing back home?
Actually, we are in Tajikistan, we supporting, government supporting agriculture, not directly as subsidies, but through different programs, providing credits, easing taxes.
For the farmers?
Yeah, for agricultural production. Even we have special program for honey.
Oh, very interesting, yes.
Yeah, 10 years program, which was under instruction of the president, and there are tax-free for producer of honey and easy access to credits. At the same time, national institutions are supporting them also in bringing new type of bees and new type of producing new type of honeys also. Those are special program, but it goes slowly but steadily, and maybe by the end we can reach we can deliver those targets which was adopted as the initiation of this program. And there are also several programs for several agricultural sectors. Silk, we have special program also, how to increase production of silk, how we make it more environmentally friendly, at the same time how to increase value added of silk products.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, very interesting.
That's why
thing about honey.
agriculture is a sector which needs support of the government. It should be.
Always, always. I think a rigid support. I would, however, suggest you to take back a bottle of Himalayan honey from Nepal. Very delicious and very
you.
organic, 100%. Now, we're almost towards the end of our conversation. Time just flies. But very quickly, I'd like to touch upon the importance and the benefit of having China as one of your neighbors. You have Uzbekistan, you have Kazakhstan, you have Afghanistan, and then there's China.
Yeah.
It is a huge engine of the world, economic engine of the world, and we do, as Nepal, also share a northern border. Yeah. The importance, the benefits of having a country like China next to you. Let's discuss about that.
Yes, thank you. We have one saying. If it's good for your neighbor, it would be good for you.
Indeed, friendly neighbor.
And the development of your neighbor is also your development, because through different projects and programs, you can develop your economy, your infrastructure, and even you can increase your trade with them, and get a win-win solution for products from both sides also. Those are opportunity which creates growing by your neighbors also. That's why it should be seized very effectively.
Oh, that is great advantage right there. Now,
Yes.
as we come to an end, we've touched so many areas, and I think we've covered a vast area. We could go on and on, but that was as your role, as your excellency. But now, as a touristic person in Nepal, what are the things that you would take back in your memory as a tourist?
Yes, thank you, thank you.
On a lighter note.
Frankly speaking, I felt myself like at home, because weather is similar, and people mostly similar, very open, very hospitable, and very friendly. And at the same time, I got the knowledge of culture, of historic sites of around Kathmandu, and it's a very good place for people to come, to learn, to live here, and to work together with Nepali partners.
Oh, thank you so much, Your Excellency. Well, that brings us to an end of today's episode of AIDIA Talk. We hope you enjoyed the vast cocktail of subjects that we were able to touch, but because of time, we have to say goodbye for now. Thank you so much for joining us from different parts of the world, and thank you, Excellency, one more time. Until the next episode, it is a sign-off from AIDIA Talk. Thank you and namaste.